Good afternoon. Welcome back to the channel. This video is not financial advice, not financial advisor, doing research, maker, and decisions. Okay, guys, welcome back. So I just want to open the video by saying this. I think ICP is moving forward with or without the rest of crypto because AI is that big of a deal. The elites and institutions have pretty much gone all in on AI being the future of everything, the web, the global economy, the world. And there's that many problems with artificial intelligence on the web that I think ICP is moving forward with or without the rest of the space because they actually solve for all the biggest problems. Just with AI specifically, identity, payments. You got to think about this, guys. We're going to be on a web powered by AI, still using the old legacy payment system where you don't have settlement until like 2 days after the transaction. Just really think about that. We have no micropayments or anything on the web. So identity, payments, verifiability. We have no verifiability on Web 2. Security, monetization, ownership, and governance. Just those different areas. ICP is so in its own category for solving for those different issues with artificial intelligence on the web that I think it's going to move forward with or without crypto. I think everything with crypto is going to continue moving forward regardless. But even if that didn't happen, ICP solves for that many problems that I'm not worried about the future of ICP because I understand how big of a deal artificial intelligence is. I understand how much the institutions have gone all in on AI being the future. And there's tons of problems, and there's no real solutions that I can find anywhere on earth outside of ICP. But let's just look at identity really quick, okay? How new AI agents will transform credential stuffing attacks. This was from the Hacker News last week. It wasn't like 3 years ago. This was last week. Stolen credentials were the number one attacker action in 2023, 2024, and the breach vector for 80% of web application attacks. And it just so happens. So stolen credentials, number one attacker action in 2023, 2024. It just so happens that there is a recommendation out from the World Wide Web Consortium about moving to a verifiable credentials model and making that a standard across the web. And ICP already has a solution for this. And ICP is also a member of the World Wide Web Consortium. But see, these conversations don't happen. Everybody's focusing on price all day, every day, and or whatever other psyop is being thrown at retail. Another important point here. I've been looking at this through one framework, one thesis this entire time. And I want to read over something again. I read over this not too long ago, but it's worth going back into, especially right now, because the reason why there's no conviction, the reason why you're looking out across the space and it's nothing but bear posting and pessimism is because there's no real optimism about the tech moving forward. People have, the average person in retail has more optimism and conviction that the price of whatever asset they hold is going to randomly go up at some point in the future. They believe more strongly in price going up than they do the tech moving forward to mass adoption, which makes no sense because if you can't realistically see a path towards mass adoption with the tech you're invested in, there's no reason for price to go up. But people just plug into the crypto shit show and taken all the bullshit from the crypto mainstream. And but when everything turns and when sentiment rolls over and price rolls over, you see the real conviction across this space. And there is no conviction across this space. A theory not only explains known facts, it allows scientists to make predictions of what they should observe if a theory is true. Scientific theories are testable. New evidence should be compatible with a theory. If it isn't, the theory is refined or rejected. The longer the central elements of a theory hold, the more observations it predicts, the more tests it passes, and the more facts it explains, the stronger the theory. And the only thing that makes sense to me is that, yes, we are, in fact, in a transitionary process to new technology, but it's going to take a long period of time. So any given week, month, even a year, you might see and experience different things that tell you otherwise. But that just further stresses the importance of taking a holistic view of this entire situation and trying to assess as many variables and data points as possible. Not looking at any one thing that happens in like a black and white way. Oh, this happened. Oh, ICP is not included in the strategic reserve, so it's just not going to work. Or the price dumped, or we broke this level of support with price, so that means that everything is not going to move forward. You have to take as holistic of an approach to assess the situation as possible to have any degree of perspective or clarity. But people want to shortcut that and they want to sit on Twitter all day and shitpost. And that's fine. But when these times come, you'll be extremely concerned, full of stress. Guys, if you're stressing a bunch, like take a deep breath, man. Take a day off, go walk, go do something. Stress will send you out of this world a lot earlier if you spend all your time just stressing over things that you can't control. The market will move on its own time. You looking at the price all day is not going to cause the market to move sooner. And this will happen on its own time. The best thing you can do for yourself is unplug from this entire shit show. Crypto Twitter is the worst place on earth for somebody to be if you don't have extremely high conviction. Crypto Twitter shakes more people out of this space than anything. But just want to say again, I think ICP is moving forward with or without the rest of this space because it's that big of a deal and it solves that many problems for artificial intelligence. Oh, well, it can't host the larger models. The majority of web-based use cases, and I've shown tons and tons and tons of articles from institutions about this, the majority of use cases are going to be smaller AI models. ICP can support smaller AI models, and it's in like the earliest stages of AI on ICP. So capacity should only grow over time. How much, I guess we'll see, but it can already solve for smaller AI models, which will make up the large majority of use cases. And so right now, these use cases, ICP is objectively one of the best, if not the best, technical solution on earth for these different use cases. Identity system, payment system, Bitcoin payment system, scaling solution, secure cloud storage, secure personal cloud storage, smaller AI models, ETH scaling solution, application layer, and backups for sensitive data and or just backups in general, which are a standard practice in the IT cybersecurity space for corporations to have some type of backup for all their data, especially sensitive data too. And this gives them an option to do that on an open public network that's secure. They don't need firewalls and cybersecurity. They actually own it and they can access it anywhere in the world. A number of use cases. Guys, just with the use cases I listed off, this is a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity. If ICP never solves, is never ideal for any other use cases, it's still ideal for all the ones that I have on the screen right now. And these alone are a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity. Bitcoin is a trillion-plus-dollar market. But even if you take out Bitcoin and Ethereum, so number 3 and number 6, it's still a trillion-plus opportunity. And these are use cases that ICP can solve for now. Oh, but nobody's talking about it. I don't know what else to tell you, man. If you think that it's going to be that simple, that everybody in the position to know, everybody in a power position is just going to come out and explain everything to you, if that's what you're waiting on, you're going to be waiting a long time. Because by the time those people are telling you all those things, where the opportunity is going to be gone. That's not how some of the biggest opportunities of all time work. They're not just handed to you on a silver platter. In this situation, they are. But that comes along with tons and tons of distractions, psyops, misdirection, bullshit, everything. The easy part is they put everything out on the web for you to figure this out. That's the easy part. The hard part is everything else. The hard part is staying focused, doing research, increasing your knowledge and understanding and education, and having a plan, having a framework, having some type of a thesis or an outlook, not just going day to day, just moving based on the algorithm. That's what's happening is a lot of people are just they're the algorithm is largely dictating their outlook. And you have to be very intentional about what you're doing on the web, what you're looking for, what information you're pursuing, the type of education that all of these things. You have to be very intentional because if not, you'll get stuck just scrolling through your phone and getting bombarded with a bunch of bullshit propaganda and psyops and simpleton takes from the rest of crypto Twitter. Crypto itself without ICP is very much at a dead end. Very much outside of Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin can continue. I mean, digital gold, store of value, that would still make sense. But all of these other technologies, they're at a dead end without ICP. Kyle made a great point, and I'm not saying Kyle said what I just said, but in the context of this conversation, there's only three paths forward for L1 blockchains: store value like Bitcoin, stable coins, world computer. And then he went on to clarify. For clarity, a world computer can be multiple interoperable blockchains optimized to run specific software verticals. But the hybrid model doesn't solve for any real problems. Best case scenario, you could say that it kind of helps solve a better payment system, but it doesn't solve for any other problems. It doesn't solve for any of the AI related problems. Again, just really look at these different areas with AI: identity, payments, verifiability, security, monetization, ownership, governance. ICP checks all of those boxes and more that I haven't even listed off. But another issue is that, I could do 6 months of educational videos and 100 plus videos in that time frame. But when these periods happen where sentiment tanks, price tanks, it just it almost undoes so much of that education. And that's why you kind of have to take personal responsibility for your own education, for your own thesis, for your own outlook. Because there's many forces all around you that are working against you and that are just, it almost seems like this whole space has been programmed to completely fuck retail. And to some degree, that should kind of be expected. We live in a corrupt, dishonest world. Expect everything, including the kitchen sink. And I've also been saying that for a long time. But outside of price and what people are talking about, everything else that I've seen over the last 3 years, especially with AI, it just so happens that the thesis was already in place. And a lot of us were starting to see a path forward before all the AI conversations got introduced, right? But then after AI gets introduced, start assessing all the different problems with artificial intelligence, including many of the things that I just listed off, right? We still don't have an upgraded payment system. So a web run by AI with on the legacy payment system, there's no verifiability with anything. There's no transparency, nothing. There's no security. There's a $10 trillion cybercrime problem. So that's an issue for AI. Monetization, you know, there's tons of lost monetization on Web 2 for a number of different reasons. One, because of all the cybersecurity issues. Two, because micropayments are not feasible. Three, because we don't really have data ownership and it's very easy to just steal other people's work. So the next part, ownership, governance, none of these things can be solved for on Web 2 in any meaningful way at scale. But ICP can solve for all these issues. None of these other layer ones can. None of these other technologies can. But with use cases, more use cases will make sense over time with ICP, but right now, in the earliest days of AI on ICP, and still in the early years with ICP, all of these use cases ICP can solve for today. ICP is a realistic solution for these problems right now. And this is a $1 trillion+ opportunity just with what you see right here. So even if the other use cases don't make sense over time, with what ICP can already do right now, this is a $1 trillion+ opportunity. And you kind of have to, you don't have to, but I'm just making a general recommendation and giving you my thoughts. You kind of need to have a serious approach. And when I say that, I joke around, I meme, I have a good time. But I also understand the importance of the having like a serious approach to analyzing this situation because everything comes into play. We're talking about the future of the web. There's tons and tons and tons of variables and data points to assess at all times. Approaching this more from an analytical point of view and problem solving, as opposed to just opening up your phone and just watching everything happen with no real direction, no nothing. You'll just be in a constant state of being bombarded with bullshit, distractions, and psyops. And another thing too, isn't it interesting how like outside of the crypto space, you hear tons of people, this is outside of crypto, talking about we're moving to a new system, this and that and the third, right? It's like this, it's like this foregone conclusion with the general population that there's this new system coming, right? But yet that's where the conversation ends, right? Like I think I mentioned this, but I saw this video, the real reason why they want to put everything on blockchain, Whitney Webb, and so she's talking about this like a 12-minute video. And that's where the conversation ends. What type of, you see what I'm saying? It's like a foregone conclusion in the minds of the masses that there's this new system coming, but nobody's looking for it. Nobody's talking about it, right? I don't know. I just think that's weird. And I mentioned yesterday that even if you shouldn't expect to hear the people running the show to come out and just explain everything to you, nobody in a position of influence and power is going to come out and do that right now. It's not going to happen. You are responsible for your own outlook and your own perspective. People are making too many people in retail are putting that responsibility on somebody else. Like it's the founder's job to explain everything to you in great detail. It's not. Or that it's Trump's job or that it's industry, leaders or big voices in the space. It's their job to it's not. You should expect to be lied to. You should expect all the most important information to be withheld from you. That's what you should expect. It's 100% on you. This is a survival of the fittest situation in every imaginable way. Yeah, and we've already seen positive developments with institutions in ICP. That's back to this. Already started to see positive developments. Things like the Universal Trusted Credentials partnership with the UN. That's a very fucking big deal when there's a pending web standard potentially coming with the World Wide Web Consortium. When the issue around credentials is such a big problem to the point to where it's the number one attacker action in the world over the last 2 years. But yeah, so already started to see things move forward with institutions and ICP, Universal Trusted Credentials, and the United Nations partnership. On top of that, the VRC platform with BIA and the United Nations. On top of that, Metalore. The Metalore solution on ICP is already the best, call it a paper gold solution, even though it's not. It's a better solution than every single paper gold product on earth right now because you know the exact gold bar that you're buying. And smart city infrastructure, ICP is already being adopted for smart city infrastructure and has been signed a letter of intent with an entire country. All of these things have happened after the thesis was already in place. So if all those things don't happen, if there's not this potential new web standard coming, if this isn't as big of an issue as it is, the point I'm trying to get to is that things that have been happening have been aligning with the broader thesis for the last few years. Just price hasn't been moving and nobody's talking about it. Those are the two easiest things to manipulate are the things people always go back to because people need that validation. But the validation for me is watching all of these things happen, watching cybercrime become a bigger and bigger issue, watching Google recommend this be viewed as a national security threat, reading Google say we need a broader initiative globally, we need more cooperation with institutions all over the world to address this problem because it's that like those are the things that I see. That's the validation for me is seeing more and more things unfold that align with the broader thesis. Price and what everybody is saying, those things have been constants over the last few years. Those are the things that haven't really changed. What people have been talking about has been the same over the last few years. Nothing. What Price has been doing over the last few years has been the same. Nothing. The story has been everywhere else. All the places people aren't looking. Yeah. Everything outside of price and the public narrative support the thesis. So The system's already broken too. It's like, where do you think, like, what do you think happens once everybody's personal data is out on the dark web, which is essentially where we're at right now? What do you think happens then? We move to new systems. Okay. When you can no longer protect personal identities, when everybody's personal information is already out on the dark web, the system is broken at that point. And so, in my personal opinion, what we're going to watch is a transition to a new system and new standards over the next 10 to 15 years, but it will take time. And in that time period, there might be a lot of scary things that happen. There might be a lot of market volatility. There might be a lot of psyops thrown at retail to shake them out of this space, like we've seen up until this point. So I would just expect more of that. It's a never ending shakeout. That's what crypto is. It's a never ending shakeout. It's one big distraction from the biggest thing in the space, which is ICP. And on top of that, all the other important technologies that will serve as extensions to ICP, it's a distraction from those things as well. And it's just, in a general sense, it's a distraction from everything happening with the new web. We're going to have transition to an entirely new web over the next 10 years. And the global population is going to be largely clueless. They'll know about it when they're told about it, which will be long after the opportunity has already come and gone. And during this whole time, there'll be tons of noise and bullshit and distractions everywhere, just filling up the feed and burying all the important information in an ocean of bullshit. I've seen most every major, like main intel agency propaganda tactic in this space over the last few years. Whether it be like limited hangouts, whether it be flooding the zone, just misdirection in a general sense, using a lot of fallacious reasoning, weaponizing language. They've done that in the space too. But yeah, um, just look at more than price, guys. Look at the global trends that are happening. Look at all the new tech. It's not just AI and blockchain. All right, look at cybercrime. Look at what's happening with the fiat system. Do you think it's just a random coincidence that all of this is happening at the same time where we're at the end of the fiat system globally? It's not just an issue in the US. All the automation with new tech, green energy. Look at all the trends out, like unplug from crypto and look at all the other things happening and ask yourself, does this align with transitioning to a new system or not? Because everything I've seen is aligned. Everything I've seen has just been in that general framework. It's not sustainable. I don't know how else to put that. And on top of that, too, what are we talking about? Unfortunately, price. I've been making the same case for 3 years. I'm not saying that my assumption about this data is accurate. All I'm saying is that I've been making the same case this entire time. I've never changed my case. And the data, it doesn't prove, but it supports my case. Meaning that the ratio with long to short liquidations is overwhelmingly higher with ICP than it is with the entire market average. And if you want to take two other assets, Solana and Sui, Sui is close to 1 to 1. Solana's probably closer to 2 to 1. The industry average is 2 to 1, maybe a little bit over that. But ICP is, this is a 10 to 1 ratio. And it's been like this forever. I should not be able to predict stuff like this if this is organic. These are the people that are considered like the big voices in crypto. I have actually, I do know why, because this is an exercise in distracting and misdirection. This is not an exercise in informing the public about all of this technology. And so that's probably why the people that have never articulated any type of vision about Web3 are the ones who control the majority of the conversation. Guys, regardless of what happens with the rest of this space, I think ICP is moving forward. I don't even think ICP should be considered in the same conversation with anything in this space. Nothing else solved for any real problems. ICP did. And problems are going to need to be solved for in order for AI to continue moving forward. So yeah, I would just stop looking at things in a black and white way of everything's good or bad or everything is on a spectrum. Look at everything on a spectrum and try to start looking at things through a framework that makes sense to you. It doesn't need to be my framework. But again, price and what everybody is saying, those two things have not changed in 3 years. Everything else is what's been changing. And so it makes no sense to me to rework any type of thesis if there's no, if everything that I'm saying is aligning with this. And you could say, well, price and what people are saying aren't aligning. It hasn't been this whole time. It hasn't been in 3 years. But what else has been happening? Everything has continued moving in the direction that you would want it to go if the thesis was accurate. And right now, ICP is already a realistic, not even saying a realistic, it's the best, objectively, the best technical solution for all of these use cases. And or one of the best for all of these use cases. For some of them, hands down, it's the best solution. For smaller AI models, ICP is the best solution. For identity system, payment system, ICP is the best solution. We're talking about $1 trillion+ opportunity just with these use cases alone. That's it. If you solely look at price and what everybody is saying, you're probably going to be very stressed and concerned. If you zoom out and try to take a more holistic approach and look at every single thing, every relevant detail, every relevant variable and data point in this entire conversation, you'll probably feel a lot better about the situation. Yeah. So that's all I have for this video. This was not financial advice. Do your own research. Let me see if I have anything else really quick. I see ICP moving forward. AI is the biggest thing on earth. And so therefore, AI, the biggest thing happening on earth right now, solving for AI would also be one of the biggest things on earth. And ICP actually does. And these problems are getting worse and worse and worse. And in other places, we're seeing changes, recommendations, potentially new standards coming that just further align with a broader thesis. That's it. I'm done. Not financial advice. Do your own research. Take care. It's going to be okay, guys. It's going to be okay. And even if things get a lot worse, I will be here holding down the fort and being the last line of defense for the bull case. Yeah. So that's it. Take care. Have a good night. I'll see you in the next video.